It's crazy how it only took one episode for me to remember how much I actually like the Mandalorian versus Boba Fett. And there's a couple of reasons for that, right? The Mandalorian has already had his own series, but also in that series, not only the main focus, but he has some really dope feats, and we get to see his character development and progression over the course of 2 seasons already. Whereas with Boba Fett, this is the first time he's really been the main focus. Last week went by super quick, bro. Like, I didn't even realize, like, even the weekend went by super quick. Maybe because we had, like, a little snowstorm or whatever. So, like, I didn't really do nothing, like, this weekend or go nowhere this weekend until, like, Sunday was probably, like, the only real good day to actually leave the crib. But, I don't know. It felt like the week went by fast, and it felt like also the actual weekend. Like, that whole week, you know, just flew by. I don't know what happened, but welcome back to the Why I'm Geeked show, man. It's episode 53, man, and this episode is called The Muscle. It's called The Muscle. And we'll get into that later on, but first things first, man, let's get into the news. Alright, y'all, so we're going to start things off with a little bit of gaming news. I know I haven't really talked about games that much, but this is a huge thing because, you know, we're doing this on Twitch. We play games on Twitch, right? And basically, Sony has bought Bungie, and it was for like $3.6 billion. It just happened today. We were kind of like expecting Sony to do something soon. Just because of the whole Activision and Microsoft deal that happened not too long ago. And I guess this is like their first punch, you know, in response to that. You know, I thought they were going to go the whole mega route and start a partnership with Nintendo, you know, because that would really like set the bar up in a crazy way, right? Because it's like, you know, Microsoft and Activision, they got some heat over there. But Sony bought Bungie, which is crazy. And then as far as some more numbers, No Way Home is creeping up on Avatar's box office record, which is something like I thought it would have been broke, but you know, Avatar was a freaking insane movie. So it's crazy to see that it's actually going to do it. Maybe I don't know when the actual like polling for it ends or like when they cut it off, you know. But I still haven't gone back to see it again yet, you know. And just because of, like, Omicron, but I just haven't really. I was just like, man, I'm gonna just chill. And it's just like it's been so cold and getting snow. It's a whole bunch of other stuff going on that I haven't like gone back to go see it. But you know, it's insane that like we're just now hearing about this. But I think that it's definitely well deserved. Definitely like probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. Other than Spider-Man, nah, I can't even rank it right now. I might have to do that later on. I might have to come up with a tier list. Y'all let me know if y'all want to see that. But yeah, No Way Home is still doing numbers. And then we got some Fast and the Furious news. So the next movie is Fast 10, I believe, and they're adding Jason Momoa to the cast. So you always got to have somebody brolic for Vin Diesel to go up against. So Jason Momoa is the next person. Now, whether he's going to be related to him somehow or related to somebody else, we haven't really seen, because, you know, Fast and Furious is all about family. So they're going to have some type of family ties. And, you know, that was a cool thing to see. I don't know if Fast and Furious is ever really going to end until they don't want to make it anymore. Like, until, like, well, I can't even say that, because they can still, like, unless they have, like, a mass, like, okay, we don't want to do this anymore type of thing from the cast, I can't really see this joint ever stopping, because at this point, it's not even so much about, like, the movies with Fast and Furious. It's just like, yo, you gotta go see it. It's one of those cultural things, like, yo, like, you have to go see it, bro. And they're just in that mode, so they're just gonna keep on making them. I don't know. They're gonna actually, like, maybe race in space this time, you know, instead of just float. Who knows? And then as far as like a rumor report or whatever, it's apparently they're apparently starting Joker 2. So like if they haven't started filming, they're about to get into that process. I didn't know if there was going to be a second Joker movie just because of the way it ended, but I can definitely see it happening because that joint ended in straight up chaos. But I love the first one, so I'll be excited to see the next one come out if it does. If we get some confirmation from across the nation. But that's pretty much it for the news for this week. Let's get into the weekly recap. Alright, y'all. So today I'm going to start things off with a little bit of Euphoria, because Euphoria is one of those shows that you have to watch it on Sunday or like right when it kind of comes out, because if you don't, you're definitely going to get spoiled if you are at least on the internet, like, because it's just like the fandom is not only crazy as far as like the amount of people that be talking about it, but the show is just as wild. And I feel like, after watching these first 4 episodes, I really feel like they kind of lost their way, if that makes sense. Not because of necessarily like what's going on in the actual show, as far as like, the different characters that they're choosing to focus on. But it's just like, it feels that they're taking everything to the literal extreme, which is how life can be like sometimes, and they also want to make it, entertaining. It's like I say this all the time, like, you're kind of just watching, like, as you go by in a car, like a car crash, like you're just trying to figure out what happens, right? Or what happened. And it's one of those things where it's like, yo, like how much further can they actually go? Like, how much further are they even going to be able to take this? Because at this point, it's not even necessarily about the character development, it's just about the spectacle, right? And I thought initially we would get more into like just their journeys, like in like living life, but it doesn't feel like we're progressing. It feels like, if anything, we're regressing, especially with Rue. There's no real concept of time right now with, like, they're supposed to be in school, but there's not a lot of school scenes happening. This is all like, happening outside of school, which is like not a wild thing to do, you know what I'm saying? Because, what can you really, how much of school can you really show? But it's just like super duper hyper focused on their most extreme characters as far as storylines. And it's just like, bro, I don't want to say it's not realistic, but it's just like it done lost its luster, right? And it's just way too many freaking like penises, bro. It's weird. I don't even like saying, like, ugh. I don't even like, it's just wild, bro. Like, I don't want to see that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just wild that they keep doing that, and it's every episode. And I'm like, bro, y'all need to chill. Like we get it, bro. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to keep like beating into the mud, and it's like, it feels like they're really trying like super hard to make something that, like, I don't want to say like nobody's ever seen before, but making something that is just like doing it just because, like, we can, so we should, in a sense, instead of like building more upon what the story initially was, which was not only just like multiple love stories, but also like progression and just growing up at the same time. And then there was just like the messed up stuff that just happens to teenagers at the same time, whether it's drugs or abuse or whatever. Like, it's just everything is like hyper focused, not hyper focused, but like taken to like levels of extreme that I'm not saying that it's not fit to be watched, but it's just like, yo, that wasn't even really necessary, right? And some of these moments are for lack of a better word, like euphoric or whatever, because it's just like, oh, like, yo, this character's finally, you know, they're getting their monologue, or like they're getting their moment, not necessarily to shine, because what's going on is like still wild, like especially with the whole cow situation. Like, bro, that was so unnecessary. Like, we already went through this whole moment, like we get why he is the way he is, but like it was just like, bro, like stop. Like bro, I was just like, yo, I get that he's drunk, but just, bro, come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like, and from like a director's decision to just do that, I was just like, bro, y'all, like, them actors gotta be getting paid stupid bread, bro. Like, stupid bread, you know? And I'm just like, I see a lot of people are kind of like disappointed in Rue just because it's like she done gave up in a sense, and we're also in this moment. It's like, yo, did she really just die? Like, but we do get to see like she's standing up. You know what I'm saying? But like, it seems like finally hit that point of euphoria. Like, as far as like, she met her dad again. You know, which is a crazy trip to have. But does that mean that she was like in the, I forgot what the word is for like when you in between, you know, earth and heaven. I think it's purgatory, but I could be completely wrong. But it looked like she was like in that state because of the way that it was filmed. It was like she was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth as far as like what were we being shown. So it's like from a cinematography wise, like this show, it looks amazing, right? Like the way that they shoot the scenes and the pacing of every episode, it's just like, it's still really good, but it's just like, bro, it's still wild. It's still really wild. As far as like the throuple situation with Rue and what's her name? Rue and I'm blanking. Yo, what's good, y'all? I am pausing this video to let you guys know that we officially have a Patreon. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck is a Patreon? Well, let me lay it out for you. Basically, our Patreon is called the Donatoverse. And in the Donatoverse, you have the opportunity to not only get early content, but also get exclusive Patreon only videos where we're discussing your favorite fandoms and also having dope conversations, bringing all of our communities across the whole metaverse, right? Because that's a thing now, and dropping it all in one place. Now, there are 4 different tiers that you can join. I don't care which one you choose, just know that your support is greatly appreciated. So tap in with us, Patreon.com/Donato, and let's get back to the vid. So with the whole throuple situation with Rue, Elliot, and Jules, it's weird because it's like, yo, Jules is getting mad, or Jules doesn't know, somehow she doesn't know that Rue is still using, right? And then Elliot, like, they all start having feelings for each other, right? Not as a complete thing, but just separately, you know? Like, Jules and Rue obviously have their whole thing because they're in a relationship, but Jules thinks that Rue likes Elliot. Elliot does like Rue and does like Jules, and he's like trying to finagle the situation or whatever. That was wild. But the whole like hypocrisy of kind of like, you know, Jules being mad that Rue ends up using, but then at the same time literally just be cheating on Rue. And it's just like, yo, like I get this, in her mind it might be like levels to it or whatever, but It's still wild to see that. And what else? And then it was just bad for Cassie. Like Cassie been going through it, like the master manipulator of Nate, and just the way that not only they all just talk to each other is crazy, but just her pure like jealousy of Maddie when she used to be her best friend, but now it's just like she's just all messed up in the mind, which I think definitely happened during season 1 with that one dude that like was just trying to mess with her just because like he heard that she was like who she was or whatever. Like she didn't really like her like that. He was just trying to hit, but that I feel like that really messed her up. And then also just like the whole McKay situation, the whole abortion situation, all that. Like she's just been going through it this whole time and is not really expressing that to nobody. And the one person that she used to be able to do that with, she's not having a serious relationship with her ex. And it's just like, it's all bad, bro. And then she threw up, and it was just nasty. It was nasty, bro. So this show is bonkers. And I don't know where else they can go with it, but this show is wild. Now I'm a steady tune in, but I will say I definitely feel like they done lost their way as far as like what the actual goal of the show is supposed to be. But that's just how I feel about it. All right, the next thing from like HBO that I wanted to talk about is Peacemaker. This was probably like the most wholesome episode of Peacemaker. Not because they were real civil and nice to each other or anything like that. Like they still blew up people. Well, not people, but butterflies, and bodied a whole bunch of youngins. But they also became a team in this episode, with the exception of Mern, who we found out in the last episode is an actual butterfly. Now, how you say her name is Adebayo is going to get out the situation, I'm not really sure, right? Because Peacemaker can now see who's a butterfly based off of his helmet that has x-ray vision, right? That he can see the butterfly in people's heads, which is wild too. But it's weird because the map that they were showing, bro, it's like literally anybody could be a butterfly. Like any and everybody. So they're all going to need x-ray vision to actually do this. And who's to say that the people that they're actually working for aren't already butterflies? Like what if the butterflies are actually like they like crash landed here and are just trying to figure out a way to get home or whatever? Like there's so many scenarios and possibilities. I don't think that the butterflies are inherently bad. I think what taking over people's body is bad, obviously, but it's also like a simulation type thing where it's like, like what is real life type of situation. I don't know. The goal of Peacemaker right now, other than to make you laugh, is still unknown to me. I don't know what the overall purpose is going to be, and that is more so a slight on just DC right now when it comes to their cinematic universe, because a lot of movies and shows are connected, but there's not like a overall arching situation that lends itself to like situations like this, when you have all these different shows with these different characters and different heroes and villains and stuff like that. Like it's easy to talk about like the top 5 or whatever, right? The Batmans, the Supermans, because that's just like something that's universal. But as far as actually bringing them into the show, a lot of these shows end up being very isolated. So whether or not we start to see some cameos from some people, that'll have to we'll have to wait and see on that. But overall, I'm still enjoying the show a lot. I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of just the comedy style of it, but I'm just more so interested in like understanding like what the butterfly's actual purpose is right now. But we'll have to wait and see on that. Next thing, let's talk Star Wars, man. the main topic of, or the main focus or cover art, whatever you want to call it, of this episode. This was the Mandalorian's episode on Boba Fett, which is a bold choice, because this is the Book of Boba Fett, right? Not the Mandalorian. And I'm not saying that it was a bad move to give the Mandalorian or Din a whole episode, because all it made me do was make me want to go back and watch the Mandalorian again, right? Even though this was basically a precursor for or a setup for season 3 of the Mandalorian, it was still cool that this is happening, because the war arc is coming, obviously, and they're gonna need some muscle, and who better to bring in who still wants to repay his debt or just is loyal to Boba Fett than the Mandalorian. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that has fought with him, and we all know is like that. It was just like a perfect combination, and it was something that I had said in the previous week. Was a possibility, just because it's just like that's just an easy answer, right? Now, if they get anybody else, I'd be kind of surprised, because I'm like, yo, who else could they really get? I'm still curious on who the main protagonist is going to be. There's still like the whole not Moff Gideon, but what's his name? The whole dang, I can't think of it. Not Moff Gideon, bro. It's the blue youngin. I can literally see it, bro. Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's his name. So there's still the whole working theory of Grand Admiral Thrawn entering the live action universe of Star Wars. There's still the possibility of that. And we also still have like Jedi out there that, could possibly maybe make an appearance one of these days. With, Ezra being one of them. And then we still got Ahsoka and stuff like that. So it's a lot that can actually happen, but seeing a Jedi enter into this war against the Pike Syndicate, I can't really see that. But I can see Grand Admiral Thrawn being a supplier to the Pikes somehow, some way, or being a buyer, and them not necessarily giving them forces, but giving them, resources to actually fight this war, So I don't know. That would be really cool if that was the case, but I don't think we're going to see Thrawn until Ahsoka. I think that's when we'll make his appearance, but that's just my working theory right now. But we also saw not only just the Mandalorian use the Darksaber this episode, but also we got to see him make something new for Grogu. So, like, I don't know what exactly is going to be. Like, it looked like, because Grogu's really small, right? So it can't be nothing too big. But they melted the saber down. Well, not the saber, but the spear, and they were giving it to a foundling, which was Grogu, who Luke Skywalker took in the last season of Mandalorian. So during that process, they also talked about just what the plans is for the Mandalorian for the next season, which would be to go back to the Mandalorian homeworld to basically like reclaim his Mandalorian status, right? Like, because of what happened in the second season where he actually took his mask off and everybody saw his face. That's against the rules, so he has to go restore his honor in a sense by bathing in the waters of the underground something in the mines of Mandalore, which will also possibly we'll get to see him fight a huge monster down there too. They gave us some lore. They definitely gave us some lore within this episode, but there was also a lot of callbacks. So, being on Tatooine, like being one of the most explored planets, even though it's not a lot there, we got to go back in time and not only see the new ship that the Mandalorian has, that was once one of the ships from Naboo, or not just Naboo, but from the Republic, one of the fighter joints, which was a cool thing to see, because I was just like, yo, like, that's, where did they even get that, that was just like something I wasn't expecting. And that joint be moving too. But he also went down to the canyon joint, which was cool, because we got to see where Anakin at first like went through and won that initial race, right? And all the debris is still there, and it's just like Tatooine, it's just like a big, not only sandbox, but just like everything gets preserved somehow, because it's just so dry out there. I don't know a better way to explain it, but it was just a very, very nostalgic episode. And it made me forget all about Boba Fett until the literal end, when what's the name came, and when Fennec came and asked the Mandalorian for his help, and obviously he's gonna say yes. But it also, like, I made a TikTok about it that kind of was getting a little bit of buzz. If you're not following us on TikTok, definitely go do that. But I was just saying, like, bro, like, it's crazy how it only took one episode for me to remember how much I actually like the Mandalorian versus Boba Fett. And there's a couple of reasons for that, right? The Mandalorian has already had his own series, but also in that series, not only the main focus, but he has some really dope feats, and we get to see his character development and progression over the course of 2 seasons already. Whereas with Boba Fett, this is the first time he's really been the main focus. Now, he's had his arcs within, the Clone Wars animated show, where we got to see him not only be a cadet, not a literal cadet, because he was just infiltrating, but we got to see how he interacted with the rest of the clones, and then also we got to see him also grow up and become like his first bounty hunter stage or whatever, right? Like, not necessarily an apprentice in a sense, but like he had his own little gang, and it was like cool to see that, right? But it doesn't feel like it really translates to the live action scene, which kind of tends to happen a lot, right? I think Clone Wars is still the best thing that, Star Wars has ever produced, because we get to see the full extent of what a lot of these characters can really do. And they just have a real opportunity to have real dialogue and real growth that's not, all crunched into one movie. So I think the live action shows now, like The Mandalorian, like Boba Fett, we'll get more opportunities to see Boba Fett grow. But as far as a show like itself and entertainment wise, it has been pretty slow to begin with. So it's just like, this was the first real hype moment to happen within this first episode, but it has nothing to do with Boba Fett. It's just, it's one of those things. Like, I think the coolest thing that's happened so far is Black Chrysanthemum, that directly has something to do with Boba Fett. But I'm sure this war arc is where it's really going to get started. All right, let's talk about anime now, bro, because I only really have one thing to really report. I've been keeping up with Attack on Titan and Boruto, but I don't really have nothing to say about those shows right now. Like, Boruto's in a weird state where it's just like, in a filler arc, because, we just had this big moment. And it's just like, it's nothing really, like, we went back to the Land of Waves, and, I'm not really tripping on that. It's nothing monumental, right? But I know with Attack on Titan, it's just like, I literally was falling asleep in the last episode, bruh. It was just, I don't know. I wasn't I wasn't really feeling it. I'm gonna definitely have to go back and watch it again, I think. But you know, it wasn't nothing to really write home about. So today I only really want to talk about Demon Slayer because Demon Slayer just doesn't miss, bro. It doesn't miss. Like, I really didn't think I would ever get here as a fan of Demon Slayer just because of the, you know, main protagonist being Tanjiro, because I'm not a fan of Tanjiro at all, really. I think what he's attempting to doing, like with sun breathing, is really cool. Like, I think that'll be dope to see later on as he continues to develop. But I'm only really watching Demon Slayer right now for the enemies, for the antagonists, because they continue to level up. And the actual like captains or whatever, the Hashira, are dope, right? But the thing that I like about Demon Slayer is how strong the enemies always are, but also how unforgiving the show is, right? Because most of the time in an anime where you have like a set kind of main cast, they'll get body, right? But it won't be like no injuries that they can't necessarily recover from after a long rest. Like, youngins in Demon Slayer be getting like, I don't even know if this is the word, but behanded or whatever, like, or dehanded. I don't know if that's a word. That might not even be a word. But youngins be losing their whole hands, bro, and be getting stabbed. And it's just like, if they are going, like, if it looks like they're going to die, bro, they're probably going to die, you know? And it's like no redos. Like, there's no like magic healing or ninjutsu healing or whatever that they can perform to help with their injuries. Like, yo, youngins really just be getting bodied, right? And these last few times with the Hashira and going up against a upper level demon, they've been getting bodied when initially the way that they get brought out is like, yo, like, these are the strongest, right? So with like most shows, you have the main cast who always ends up jumping the main enemy, but it's just like, yo, like, the enemies, because they can regenerate so fast, and it's like, yo, like, nothing that they really do unless they do exactly what is needed to actually win is like, it's like, it feels impossible, bro. Like, I was literally on the edge of my seat, bro. Like, I couldn't believe it. Felt like time was really moving slow, like, but so much was happening, because with a normal level demon or just a lower level demon, once you cut their head off, it's over with. Like, there's no tricks or anything like that. But with these last few, like, not only is it just really difficult to actually do that, like, to complete the act of cutting their head off, but they have so many gimmicks that make it almost impossible to do it solo, you know? So, and it also allows for our like protagonists to actually level up, which is something I'm always a fan of. Like, I always love to see a level up, right? But it also leaves them at a point of just like, yo, I don't know if they're gonna be able to do it, bro. Like, obviously the show has to go on, so the main character can't die, but everybody else, they kind of just like, they could go out like that, you know? Like, I can't even cap. Like, I don't trust this show after losing Rengoku after the first time we done really met him and seen what he could do. Like, I'm not trusting none of this, so I'm prepared, bro. I'm prepared for us to continue to lose them. But it's just so wild because it's every episode. Like, they don't miss, bruh. And this arc itself, like, it kind of started a little slow, but just because I wasn't really like super entertained by the entertainment district. Like, once I got the concept of it, I was just like, all right, where's the main enemy? Yeah, I'm trying to see this fight, you know? Like, I'm trying to see this fight, bro. But the actual like fight has lasted so long. It feels like one of those moments where it's like a Goku versus Frieza moment, where like they say it's only 5 minutes left, but like they're moving so fast that it feels like, you know, it could last 3 episodes, you know? And that's literally what's happened. Like, this has been the longest night in history, bruh. You know? But the show is freaking crazy, bro. I'm so glad I'm like caught up to it, but I do miss being able to just continue watching and not have to wait a week. But that's pretty much it for the weekly recap. I'm curious to see how y'all feeling after this week of all the different shows. Put that in the comment section. Let me know what y'all been watching. Let me know what's good. And yeah, let's get into the filler arc. So I don't really got that much for the filler arc this week. Basically, this last week I feel like all I really did was kind of just trim the fat, right? And I mean that in the literal sense, and well, I can't even say the literal sense, but like, because I just started working out again today, literally today, which is Monday right now. So like, I'm back on my, you know, health grind or whatever, but I'm like trimming the fat with content. So I realized that I do a lot, right? You know, I do this podcast, I have the whole YouTube channel, and I've had the whole streaming thing, and I'm enjoying like doing the streaming part when it comes to like when we're talking about the shows and things like that. But when it comes to what happens after our show, where, you know, our daily discussion of like what we're watching, and it's time to like, I guess, play a game or whatever, I haven't really felt like there's like, it's getting harder and harder to play through these games, right? Because for one, I've already beat Ghost of Tsushima once, right? And maybe it's just because it's like kind of like a gaming drought where I'm not really interested in playing Call of Duty. I'm not interested in playing Apex. I'm definitely not playing Valorant. I just don't necessarily know what to play. It's just I'm in that stage of like, yo, like I'm waiting on the next thing. So I'm waiting on these new games and new experiences to come out so that I can, you know, enjoy those again. But like trying to figure out the best way to go about it, you know, in the meantime. And I want to get like, because I'm starting to see some results from like the pieces of content I'm putting out outside of like the main videos, on, you know, TikToks and Instagram Reels. Like I'm starting to see kind of like what works for the style of videos that I do. So I'm excited to see that continue to go. But it's a lot more work to put in, you know. But I realize I'm gonna have to start cutting some stuff out, and that might be some series where we have to come back to it. And I also want to figure out just really like what really works, you know, because at the end of the day, I want like the content that I make to be seen, to be heard, and to start a conversation, you know. So it's just been one of those weeks where, you know, it was a lot of reflecting, but at the same time it was like still trying to produce stuff, but also like take a look back and see what I've already done, you know. And I did that on YouTube, and I did that on Instagram, and you know, it's just one of those things. So I'm gonna figure it out. It's nothing like the world's not ending, but it's just one of those things that's just like, you know, it was just one of those things that happened this week, and it's something that's gonna continue, right? So that's been this episode, man. I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know what y'all thought in the comment section below. I really appreciate it if you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Leave a review, a 5-star review on all your favorite podcast platforms, so that, you know, this joint can continue to get recommended to somebody that might also be interested. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope y'all enjoyed. I'm out of here. Y'all be easy. Y'all know the vibes. Always keep growing. See you guys. It's been your boy G. I'm gone. Peace.